So this is AZ-104 lab number 7, implement web apps. Let's log in into Azure portal. In this lab, you learn about Azure web apps. You learn about configure a web app to display Hello World application in an external GitHub repository. You learn to create a staging slot and swap with the production slot. You also learn about auto-scaling to accommodate demand changes. Lab scenario. Your organization is interested in Azure web app for hosting your company websites. The websites are currently hosted in an on-premises data center. The websites are running on Windows Server using the PHP runtime stack. The hardware is nearing end of life and will soon need to be replaced. Your organization wants to avoid new hardware cost by using Azure to host the websites. This is going to be the scenario, task 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Task 1 is create and configure an Azure web app. So let's go to app services. Select create web app. This is going to be the value. Name is web app. Publish code, runtime, stack, PHP 8.2. Operating system is Linux. Region is East US. Pricing plan Premium V3 P1 P1 V3 Premium V3 P1 V3 Zone redundancy accept the default, click review and create. After deployment, go to resources. So deployment is done. Let's go to resources. In task 2, create and configure deployment slot. In this task, you will create a staging deployment slot. Deployment slots enable you to perform testing prior to making your app available to public. After you have performed testing, you can swap the slot from development or staging to production. Many organizations use slot to perform pre-production testing. Additionally, many organizations run multiple slots for every application. For example, development, QA, test, and production. On the blade of the newly deployed web app, yes, click default domain. Okay. To display the default web app in a new browser tab. So this is the app. This is the web app page. This is done. Close the new browser tab. Okay. And back in Azure portal, in the deployment section of the web applet, click deployment slots. Deployment slots. The web app at this point has a single deployment slot labeled production. No, there is nothing like this. I think we have to add slots. Let's add slot. After adding, I think production will be automatically add. Now we are adding the slot. Back on the deployment slot blade of the web app, click the entry representing the newly created staging slot. Once this will be done, we will continue. So as I said, when we created our slot staging, production is shown here automatically, and 100% traffic is going to our production stage. This is slash staging slot, and this is the URL is particularly differ from our production. Task 3 is configure web app deployment settings. In this task, you will configure web app deployment settings. Deployment settings allow for continuous deployment. This ensures that the app service has the latest version of application. In the staging slot, select deployment center and then select setting. In the staging slot, okay, deployment center and then select setting. Yes. In the source drop-down list, select external Git. Okay. In the repository field, enter this link. In the branch field, enter master. Select save. From the staging slot, select overview. I think we have to wait until this is done. Setting up deployment is done. Now we are on overview. Select the default domain link. Okay. Yes, it says hello world. This is confirmed. Now, as we have developed our web app in staging, now we are going to swap deployment slots. In task 4, in this task, you will swap the staging slot with the production slot. Swapping a slots allow you to use the code that you have tested in your staging slot and move it to production. The Azure portal will also prompt you if you need to move other application settings that you have customized for this slot. Swapping slots is a common task for application teams and application support teams, especially those deploying routine app update and bug fixes. Navigate back to deployment slot. Review the default setting, click swap. On the overview blade of the web app, select the default. On the overview blade of the web app, select default domain link to display the website homepage. Okay, let's first complete our swap, and then we are going to go in our production slot to see that our URL web app is presenting hello world as it was showing in staging slot. So we are going to wait until this is complete. So swapping is done. Let's go to overview. Let's go to default, and it is says hello world. So this is done. Now task fifth is configure the test auto scaling of Azure Web App. In this task, you will configure auto scaling of Azure Web App. Auto scaling enables you to maintain optimal performance for your web app. When traffic to the web app increases, to determine when the app should scale, you can monitor metrics like CPU usage, memory, or bandwidth. In settings section, select scale out. In settings section, we are going to select scale out app service plan. Ensure you are working on the production slot, not the staging slot. I think we are on the production slot. Next is from the scaling section. Select automatic notice, the rule based automatic. Select automatic. Notice the rule based option. You define rule to scale out on schedule and based on any app metrics. Can configured for different app metrics. Okay. In the maximum burst field, select 2. Just a second. Yes. Let's select 2 and select save. Select diagnose and solve problem. Diagnose and solve problem. In the load test your app box, select create load test. Load test your app. Create load test. Select create and give your load test name. Testing fun. Select review and create. Wait for the load test to create and then select go to resources. Submitting deployment. Resource testing 1 is being created. We have to wait until this is completed. So deployment is done. Let's go to resource. From the overview, add HTTP request. Select create. For the test URL, paste in your default domain URL. Ensure this is properly formatted and begins with HTTP as this format. Okay, let me paste this. Select review, create. Test successfully created. Test started. The test run will start shortly. Review the test result including virtual user response time and request request per second. So after waiting few minutes, we have test results here. So this is virtual user response time. So the lab is completed. Thank you. Let me stop this.